Ragnar Lodbrok, a name that echoes through Viking legend, king, raider, explorer, and perhaps myth. But who was Ragnar Lodbrok? A real Viking warlord? A combination of several men? Or a hero shaped by centuries of storytelling? Before we explore his battles, his voyages, or his famous sons, we must first confront a more important question. Did Ragnar actually exist? The truth is both simple and complicated. There is no single historical record that proves Ragnar Lodbrok lived exactly as the sagas describe him. Instead, Ragnar appears in a web of stories written hundreds of years after his supposed lifetime. These tales mix fact, legend, and cultural memory into a figure who may represent many Viking leaders combined into one. But that doesn't mean Ragnar was pure fiction. It means his story must be approached carefully, through the lens of archaeology, recorded history, and the sagas that preserved Viking identity. Ragnar's earliest appearances come from medieval chronicles written outside Scandinavia. Frankish sources from the 9th century describe brutal Viking attacks, including a siege of Paris in 845. One leader, possibly named Ragnar, is often linked to the Ragnar of later legends. But these records don't describe him as a legendary king, just another Viking commander. Centuries later, Norse storytellers transformed these scattered figures into one powerful character, Ragnar Lodbrok, meaning Ragnar Shaggy Breeches. Most of what we know about Ragnar comes from two sagas written in the 12th and 13th centuries, the saga of Ragnar Lodbrok and the tale of Ragnar's sons. These sagas paint him as a heroic king who slays dragons, marries shield maidens, and fathers sons who would reshape Viking history. But sagas were never meant to be strict history. They blended truth with poetry, legend, and moral lessons to inspire, entertain, and preserve cultural memory. Yet many events described in the sagas match real historical raids, and some figures like Ragnar's sons Ivar the Boneless and Bjorn Ironside are firmly documented. This tension between myth and fact is what makes Ragnar so fascinating. So what remains if we strip away the legend? Historians believe Ragnar may represent an archetype of early Viking warlords, a composite of several leaders active during the 9th century. It's possible that a real Ragnar existed, leading raids into Francia and Anglo-Saxon England, or that multiple Viking chieftains influenced one legendary name. Whatever the truth, the sagas immortalized him not because he was unquestionably real, but because he embodied the spirit of the Viking Age, bold, violent, ambitious, and unforgettable. In Part 2, we'll dive into the famous legends of Ragnar's early life, his battles, his marriages, and the deeds that built his reputation. Whether fact or fiction, these stories shaped one of the most iconic figures in Norse history.